My name is Garfield Peart. I'm the immediate past vice chairman of the Atlanta Center for Creative Inquiry. I'm also a registered architect here in Atlanta, and I'd like to personally welcome you to this session on the Atlanta Center for Creative Inquiry. We also have our founder of the Center for Creative Inquiry, Mr. Oscar L. Harris, FAIA. And also Mr. Hebrew Dixon, our Director of Education. Here are our learning objectives for today. Many of you would have saw that in your programs. We would like to start with an introductory video that we made some time ago as part of our public relations, and I think it will give you a really good introduction to our program.
Thousands of years ago, thousands of architects, engineers, and designers worked together to create one of the 8 wonders of the world, the Egyptian pyramids. Where are their descendants now?
We as African Americans have to be involved in the constructed environment.
Yes.
The constructed environment is the symbol of your civilization. It's who you are.
The numbers tell a different story.
Recent census numbers show there are 180,000 employed architects in the United States. 1.5% of all registered architects are African American. 22% are female, 6.2% Latin, 6.3% Asian, 0.3% African American. Fewer than 0.01% of employed African American architects are entrepreneurs. But hopefully the stats are changing, thanks to some very, very special volunteers who developed a new high school initiative that gets young people in the pipeline, gets them thinking about careers in architecture, engineering, design, and construction.
And like I teach all you guys, come up with an idea, right? And then follow your idea through. It's the same thing. I came back here and I said, I need to get this program started. So I started at Benjamin May, just drove my car up to Benjamin May, started talking to the principal at Benjamin May. And they said, okay, let's begin this whole project.
Visionary leader Oscar Harris had a dream to open the creative minds and spirits of young people, particularly African Americans.
I will tell you that when I was young, I wanted to be an architect. Well, that's good. Architects of change. I like that.
To show them the possibilities that each of them possess. And it's working through the Atlanta Center for Creative Inquiry.
The main inspiration was the towers in New York. Since Atlanta is the empire of the South, I included 2 37-story towers that are connected by walkways, and these would be the apartments for my area.
It's a lot of color because in the performance hall, I thought there would be like a lot of plays, a lot of interesting different things going on. So I decided to make a color glass ceiling. I thought that would add interest.
Do the garden all along the front of the site so that you can have a destination over that bridge to somewhere nice both directions.
I was thinking of doing that, but then I ran out of material for the
I knew that was what
Once I kind of got through with it, it kind of reminded me of the first class that we had, where we showed the PowerPoint and we saw a building by Renzo Piano, where he had the grass on top of the roof as well. When I first began, I really liked the project that I did the first time, but if you looked at it, it looked kind of messy, and it had just remnants of glue all over the place. But the program really helped me to organize my projects, and also it helped me to think outside of the box.
Mr. Harris has always told us that just because you may not be able to draw, it's more important that you get it on paper and be able to explain what you have drawn rather than making it perfect on paper.
Students overcame challenges they faced.
Colin Jackson, he's goes to Stevenson High School. Colin was in the hospital 2 days ago. Yeah, Colin experienced a nervous condition that had to be dealt with. Colin came out yesterday, and he says no matter what, he is coming. See what time he's getting here. He is coming. He wanted to present, he didn't get a chance to do that, but to do having sketches. That's the passion that Oscar is talking about. That's the passion of architecture.
He's come from the ACE program, and he's really had to, he's had to catch a train and everything over, right? So he's been on his own pretty good and done a wonderful job.
As a result, ACCI is receiving significant media attention from outlets such as the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and now on television.
Some of the nation's top architects introduced Mays High School students to their field in the Atlanta Studio for Creative Inquiry. The initiative encourages minority students to pursue careers in architecture, planning, design, and real estate development.
We need people to provide building materials. We have to buy tape, we have to buy paper, we have to buy cardboard that these students take and they use and they mold. So any kind of resource that anyone can bring to us would add value to these students.
And even if we're not in that industry, there's always something. I want to get that point out, because someone is going to be watching and saying, well, I'm not in construction, I'm not in design, but you can go to the art store.
You can go to the art store, or you can listen to the passion of this young lady and hear her share her experiences with that, and know that she's going to be a productive citizen. And I always talk about this, that drop of water in a pool. She's the drop of water. The pool is going to ripple, and she's going to have a positive impact on other people.
This year was a record number for us. We taught 35 students this year from 4 different high schools.
I had 2 or 3 from my office that participated in a couple of them this year, and I think they got as much out of it as anybody. They came back very enthused about it. I signed them up for one time. I sort of got them to volunteer, and to my satisfaction, they came to me and said, we want to do it again, without me even asking. So I think that says something about the program.
We've got to make a change. The profession wants and needs young people. We need all the creativity we can get. All the bright ideas we can get. America needs you.
I hope that gives you a really good introduction to the type of program we're talking about here, the type of grassroots effort that is manifested himself in a difference in these students here in the city of Atlanta. And as we go through this presentation, I think you'll start to really pick up on the passion of the folks who are involved with this program, as well as the creativity of the students and the potential for this program beyond this point. Here's a presentation overview. Kind of speaks for itself. We're going to start with what the program is, a little bit about our mission, how we got started. Then our Oscar is going to talk about the founding of the program. Then I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Disson, who will talk about the big picture in terms of why we're doing this and some of the important historical milestones that are embodied in that. The drop of water will be an interesting discussion. And then we'll talk about how to bring this to your city. If you are moved and you are as passionate as we are about really making a dent in the diversity of the profession, then you may be interested in bringing this to your city. So we'll actually, we feel we have a model that works that we'll talk about, and then we'll finish up with some questions. The goal of ACCI. ACCI is a grassroots inner city effort to introduce the youth to the professional fields of design, architecture, engineering through creativity. We feel that this awareness and presence of creativity in our world within the students sparks an interest in attending college and entrepreneurship. We feel that that's one of the things that are the essence of those particular professions. And it kind of manifests itself in our mission statement that we developed just a couple years ago. It is to mentor, educate, develop creative abilities in youth to promote diversity in the architecture, engineering, construction profession. So it's really heavily rooted on mentorship and creativity, and the whole goal is to diversify the AEC profession. And as you go through the presentation, you'll see images like this, where every time we work with the students, it just amazes me the amount of energy and the amount of talent that these students have, and all they need is exposure. And how do we expose the kids? Our program is primarily a 10-week after-school program in the spring. It consists of weekly after-school sessions that are taught at Metro Atlanta high schools. And the great thing about the program, and it's really unique, in that we have a direct relationship with the local College of Architecture here in Atlanta. We've been working with the Georgia Tech College of Architecture for the last 6 years, and it's really made a difference with this program. Some of the things that we feel that are embodied in the ACCI experience is the hands-on design aspect of it. Our students build models. Our students learn how to use creativity, how to use the skills that we learned freshman year in architecture. We introduce them in the high school, at the high school level. They get speakers and lecturers from the profession, and not only fellow architects, minority architects, but CEOs and vice presidents of companies come and speak with them and really inspire the kids. They get, early on in the program, we started with a tour. We started touring their neighborhoods and working on projects that would actually transform their neighborhoods. So that's an effort that we continue to work with them on. We also visit college campuses like Georgia Tech, Southern Poly, some of the local colleges, to really give them a feel of what it's like to be in architecture school. And then finally, we do tours of construction sites and local firms. Again, many of these students have not been even out of their neighborhoods, much less have an idea of what architecture is about. So these type of experiences we feel are invaluable to their learning experience. And then at the end, we culminate this experience in a final student project presentation in a type of jury stamp format. Many of us who went to architecture school may not want to go back to that jury experience. However, it is a great learning experience for our students to get up and practice and display their 3D models and really show us what they've learned throughout the 10 weeks of the program. We also work on public speaking. We work on how to develop their confidence in what they've done, and really giving them opportunities to show us what they've learned. So we feel the jury format is something that's a really, really beneficial part of the program. And as you can see from some of these images, the students feel pretty good about what they've done. Here you see one of our early graduations. The tremendous support we've received from the City of Atlanta. Here you see the immediate past mayor of the City of Atlanta, Ms. Shirley Franklin, who was a very strong supporter of the program, a personal friend of Oscar's, and a very strong supporter of the program. She came and spoke to our students. Many of these students haven't even, they see her on the TV, but to meet her in person is just a tremendous opportunity. And here you start to see the tremendous pride that the students have. And yes, they're pretty animated group when they have a chance to be. So we're really proud of all of our students. And then finally, after the presentation, we really wrap this this experience up with a gala type, awards type dinner. And it's a situation where it's a family-oriented type environment where the students can bring their siblings, their friends, their parents, and really share in the ACCI experience the accomplishment that they've had. It is also an opportunity for us to bring our mentors and our corporate sponsors and show our corporate sponsors what we're doing with these students. And as you can see from some of these images, it's an opportunity to celebrate our teacher champions who have worked with us, like Ms. Nix here in the upper right-hand corner, and the gentleman at the podium is actually the Dean of the College of Architecture here at Georgia Tech. He's a strong supporter of our program, and we're happy to have that relationship with him. And we've done this now for about 6 classes, and you know, I don't know who's more relieved, them or us at the end of this experience. But I tell you what, it's a very proud moment when we get to take this picture at the end of the 10 weeks, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for them. And how did we get started? Well, we were founded in 2004 by Oscar Harris here, renowned architect, nationally recognized architect of the of projects like the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport and Centennial Park. He was on the board at Carnegie Mellon, and on the board he engaged the Studio for Creative Inquiry at Carnegie Mellon, and they had an outreach program called Sustainable Landscape Architecture Project, SLAP, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it was such a successful program that Oscar felt that there would be an opportunity for us to bring that down here. So he went over to Benjamin E. Mays High School, one of the local prominent high schools here in Atlanta, and met with the principal and was able to get us started in 2004 with 20 kids. And he already had a great relationship with Georgia Tech, and he really emphasized that. So we were actually started with actual Georgia Tech professors teaching our kids, and I think that's just something that's so profound, that these students are being taught by actual college professors, and that's something that's really great. And then in 2008, we were able to really gather some steam and start our board of directors, which started with 8 professionals from the ACCI community, architects, engineers, marketing professionals, folks who are just passionate about what we're trying to do with this program. And then in 2009, we finally broke away from the Carnegie University Studio of Creative Inquiry. We became our own nonprofit. We prepared our bylaws and became the Atlanta Center for Creative Inquiry Incorporated. Yeah. In 2010, we were able to gain our 501c3 status. Our board of directors grew to about 15 professionals. We garnered really key partnerships with AIA Atlanta, NOMA Atlanta, the Museum of Design Atlanta, and another national mentor program, the ACE Atlanta, ACE North America Mentor Program. And then we expanded to 4 high schools. We were teaching students from over 4 high schools at that time. You saw that in the video. And then just last year, we added a newly advisory board of 12 professionals. And now these are not the working professionals. I shouldn't say working professionals, but these are CEOs and principals who really bring the power and the passion and the wallet to our program. So we're really excited to have them. And I say all of that to say that every year we have a strategic planning session, and we never sit by and just get by on what we've done the year before. We really challenge ourselves, and as you can see, there's the progress there. And we feel that we've had some success with this. We're the only program in the city of Atlanta that employ actual college professors rather than just volunteers teaching our kids. We've taught over 150 students so far in the last 6 or 7 years of the program, 70 of which have graduated. Just last year, we won the A+ award for mentoring with Benjamin E. Mays High School through the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, something that's a very coveted business award here in Atlanta. We were teaching in 2 sites, average of 30 students a year. One thing we're very proud of, with our relationship with Georgia Tech, we're able to every year send one of our kids to one of their nationally recognized Discover Architecture program in the summertime, and that's free of cost to the student. We've given scholarships, we've given paid internships, and of course our students have progressed on to higher education. These are some of the sponsors that we work with over the years. Many of you will recognize some of these names. Of course, we're proud of all of our students, and we're just really, really excited to work with them. But these are 3 students we wanted to profile just really quick. Paul Sparks, a PhD candidate at Vanderbilt University, working on his PhD in computational mechanics. Angelica Washington, a FAMU grad from 2009, working on her master's degree in Savannah College of Art and Design. And Ian, who's one of our few students who have come through the program for 3 straight years. He's on his way to SCAD. So we definitely have some proven track record. And here's Paul. We had the pleasure of having Paul at our last graduation to talk to our students. He gave a really resounding message to our students. So we were really excited to have him back. And like I said, our kids can be animated. There's Ian and Niambi with our 2 college professors, Don and Danny, at the end of our program. So that's just the program in a just a quick overview. I'm now going to hand it over to Oscar Harris, who's going to share his vision for the program.
Thank you very much, Garfield. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming out today and being here. You should get a round of applause for that. I'd like to just talk a little briefly about myself, because it's important to just understand where I came from. I came from what's called the Hill District in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, commonly called Sugar Top. Now, I was born a little while ago, but one thing my parents did is they exposed me. So exposure, we found out to be of great importance, so we incorporated here. But my parents put me on a plane in '54 and took me over to Germany, Switzerland, and everything else like that when I was about 10 years old. So I got exposed to architecture real fast. So that's when I said, oh, shoot, I got to be an architect, you know. And they said, are you crazy? My parents told me I was crazy. You know why? Because they said they didn't know any African-American architect that was doing anything. And furthermore, that's a profession of the power. People that have power and money, how are you going to afford to pay the bills? They're not going to hire you. I told them, listen, I am passionate about this. I want to be an architect. So they supported me. So I went on, I got my first exposure at Howard University. Mr. Fry, Louis Fry, Mr. Brown taught me how to put a building together. I went to Carnegie Mellon Graduate School of Architecture, first African American to go there in graduate school. When I went there, I was determined to kick some butt, and that's what I did do. My grades were very good there. But I found my passion. I was on top of the world. I graduated in '71. I started my own company as an entrepreneurial architect 6 years after graduation in '77. And since '77 to today, I work for myself. I have no boss except me. So that's important. My mother saw me start my business, operate my business, and she saw me starting to grow. Since that time, I've designed some of the major projects here in town. The Government Center, Fulton County Government Center, Judicial Center. I did the look of the games. I ran the look of the games. I did Centennial Park. I have done the master plan for Hartsfield Airport, $6.5 billion program. I designed the atrium at Hartsfield. I designed the international concourse at Hartsfield. I oversee the overall development of Hartsfield right now. I worked on the MARTA system, how the old trains run and connect in, was instrumental in all that. That's as an entrepreneur, not as an employee, as an entrepreneur. So I took a path not traveled that often. And so what I wanted to do and what I share with the kids or the students, I said, listen, you want to have a job or you want to have a career? I'm about having a career, not a job. You can find a job anywhere. But a career in which you fall in love with something, and me with architecture, I want you to fall in love with what you do. So we talk to the kids, and when they present, they're really, really passionate about that. I started this program, as Garfield said, in 2004. I'm not going to repeat all of that, but I was invited to come and present to the AIA, the National AIA Board, in 2009. And when I presented, because I've got a lot of successes on working and mentoring with young people, because I've been doing it all my life. The airport project, the alliance that's going on upstairs, I was instrumental in starting that program. This man here, Hebrew Dixon, used to work for me and started the whole alliance program, which has done a lot of training for entrepreneurs and young people in high schools. So we know what we're talking about. In conclusion, when I went to the AIA, do you know what it comes down to? Called the pipeline. The pipeline, I don't even know if there is a pipeline. Let me go and tell you what the numbers are. These are the facts. And you should look at these facts hard and understand what they're telling you. And wake up. If you haven't woke up, wake up and get involved, because you've got serious, serious problems here. This is nothing to play around with. 1.5 of all registered architects are African American. 1.5, insignificant. 184,000 employed architects in the United States. 24% are female. 7.8 are Latin. 2.1 are African American. And less than 0.01% have taken the path that I've taken. 0.01%. That's like no one's taken the path that I took. And that's the reason why I'm here to share. I want to share my experiences, so hopefully we can get a whole lot more people that want to be entrepreneurs and have their own businesses and come up with their own visions and control their own destinies. Next. These are the facts. ACCI, we looked into the figures here on the undergraduate employment, 2008. African American, look at the number. There it is right here. Bachelor degrees, look at the number. It's the least of all of the areas. Employment, you're down at numbers 1%. Now, you know how long it takes to get, if I were to have this gentleman and persuade him to go into architecture? 5 years to receive a degree. 3 years to work for an architect, and he got to pass the test. That's 8 years, right? The pipeline is empty unless you guys don't wake up and get involved in some program like we have here. Next. Oh boy, this was a beautiful thing, I thought. Architectural record, the beginning of the year. I've never seen an African American on the front cover of Architectural Record magazine. I said, golly, finally, we're going to have something, a breakthrough. Folks, a thing, going to talk about the pipeline, bringing new ideas, going in the inner city, tapping all this talent, all this stuff like that. Well, if you notice, since January, we just came out, that's the last African American I've seen in the magazine. I haven't seen one in the magazine. I never saw one before, and I haven't seen one since. Because you don't publish anything about what we're doing. That's a problem, and you guys should be raising hell about it. Next. So, preparing for the future. I say this, and I've been around a long time. I've run businesses, I hire people, I've pretty much done, I've been joint venture partner, associate partner, prime on projects, big project, 100 million, 200 million, design build, which I can control. In the future, you better have these ingredients to what you're doing. This is my opinion. You better be creative. You better have innovation. And you better be a passionate person, because no one wants to be around anybody that's not passionate. And this one here, you better be an entrepreneur. Because I'm going to hire this gentleman, because if he can hire himself, I'm going to hire him. Jobs are created through entrepreneurship. They're created by people that say, hey, I can make a job for myself, and then I become a valuable person. Right? Okay. I think that's about it. So what I did is I learned another thing in surrounding myself. I surround myself with a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me. The board that's been put together, Garfield and Hebrew, are the best of the best. They're a hell of a lot smarter than me, and I surround them. I got all of them all around me, and I said, I'm moving away. And now I'm going to introduce Mr. Hebrew Dixon. He'll tell you all about the next level, how we put it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Let me round of applause. Yeah, please, thanks. I usually need a mic. Can you hear me? Because I might drop this, and I know he wouldn't like that. But Oscar hit a lot of key points that it just gets me excited about the work we're doing in the trenches. And when we framed this presentation, we really talked about what does it really take to make a change. But to do the change, you had to what? Look back at what the issues were that affected the change. So let's take a peek at that. The challenge. The challenge as I see it is threefold. One, we've got an issue of learning what our history is, making sure we know why we are where we are. Second, we got to really talk about the education system that exists in the communities that we live in. Third, we got to talk about information. So I'm going to frame that from the challenge perspective. Thinking about the history of architecture, and I'm an architectural engineer by degree. I'm a contractor by profession. But when I've done my research and study, I might not have all the facts right, but I know the inception was a byproduct of society. Because initially there were no architects per se, they were master builders, right? Shake your head, yes. Okay. Secondly, the societal issues started evolving. Basically, the United States piece was done on the European system. How the Europeans did it is how we were educated to be architects, or you guys were educated to be architects. So we've got issues of relationship bonding. We've got issues of hierarchicalness, if you will. I just made up a word, of being together with those that are like each other. So, and typically the people that could empower a building were who? Were who? The pharaohs, right? The pharaohs, right? The people with the money, right? Those are the people who had the opportunity to make decisions about form, and it didn't necessarily form follows function. It was formed the way I wanted, right? And those people who had the money had friends. Friends had a few skill sets, and maybe they could draw, and maybe they had a couple other people that could do some things. So those kind of relationships really was the foundation of how things evolved. So unfortunately, people of color per se don't have access to those kind of friends historically. Maybe now we do, but that in itself drives the number thing that you saw before you. We talked about the issue of relationship based. Now, there's some great architects in the history. Vernon Wood and Tandy, there's Taylor. Oscar talked about the great work that he's done. So the reality is there's some bright lights out there from the issue of history. But the reality is you see the numbers, either the pipeline is empty, or the question mark is, or what? So let's talk about the education system for a second. From what I've seen, at least in the current 30 years or so that I've looked at, is the lack of strategic focus. For whatever reason, the public school system where most of us have come from didn't reward creativity, right? And coupled with the realities of the media, LA Law, right? Remember LA Law?
and Marcus Welby, what? MD, right? The only show that I can remember was maybe Bob the Builder. No, I mean there may be some others. My point being, the education system lacks strategic. Yes. There may be some others. Lacks strategic focus. I went to vocational high school. I was a draftman in a vocational high school, and they didn't want us to go to college to be an architect. They wanted us to go to be on a board doing mechanical drawings. So we had lack of strategic focus in schools. I don't know what your schools are. I went to Dayton, Ohio in high school. There you go. I got a hand up back there. So in Dayton, Ohio, we had a vocation environment. Now, today, I've worked with kids in schools from Tennessee to Atlanta to Baltimore. And what I see, and you may see this too, is that if you put a person that wants to be creative, wants to draw, he gets put in one place perhaps in the class with the other folks that don't want to learn. Now they may have issues medically, but bottom line, they don't want to learn. And then they're measured differently because they're not on a what? College track. So some of those issues that are the foundations for the numbers deal with the issue of lack of strategic focus. Strategic focus. The other piece, and there's a bunch of things, this is just my small opinion, there's a bunch of other factors, but this in my mind I wanted to bring two to the table today, is advocacy. You guys, as an organization, NOMA, has done some great programs in the past. You have. But I don't believe that holistically the collective we, have done enough to be an advocate for this. The piece that Oscar talked about, the passion that he talked about, the issues in the schools that we're talking about, there's not a lot of passion. Now, it could be a function of society saying, we don't care or we don't want kids to be creative. We all know that's not necessarily true. But the reality is the numbers are what they are. So it becomes a function of the challenge that we're trying to put our arms around. It could be that the lack of information is the problem. Maybe we're people that are in this top of this pyramid that we're going to see in a minute are the best kept secret. Maybe we don't want anybody else. No. Maybe we don't want any competition with jobs. Maybe we want to be just okay the way we are. Maybe. The challenge is the folks that can provide passion, that can provide direction, that can provide opportunity, aren't getting the nurturing they need in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grades, so they can understand that they can be creative and be productive. Now, we've seen in the last 20 years, hip-hop has provided that opportunity for folks to be creative and to get paid. Now, what if we had a hip-hop and architecture thing happen? A movement where we saw folks like you excited, being creative, because there's a lot of things going on right now in the marketplace. What? We've got computers. Don't you like computers? Say yes. Everybody say yes. Right? You like computers. Computers do what? They put everything in a digital frame, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. The owner says, I want red brick. You say, okay. Gotcha. Red brick. So there's some opportunity based on technology that we may have to put our arms around as far as the information piece. So I'm sure that not the answer is that we're the best kept secret, but we are. And the question is, where are the facts? Where are the facts? The facts are here. We talked last night, Garfield and I, to the Mays High School parents. And we wanted to make sure the parents had the facts. The facts that in certain city schools, they don't have the necessary equipment to be successful. Those are the facts. The facts that being an architect or a contractor, in my case, is a very good way to make a living. Because some people, because my dad, don't get mad at me, he said, I said, I want to be an architect. He said, from his perspective, all he saw was, I don't know about that. How about architectural engineering? So I was lucky to trip over, fall forward, find me an architectural engineering program at North Carolina A&T State University. So we got to make sure these parents understand the facts of that it's not easy. It's not easy being the architect, right? It's not easy. It's not immediate. The kids today want immediate gratification. Okay? Not easy doing that. So you got a reality about those facts. And ultimately, the fact is that you can be this productive citizen based on putting the time in and doing the work and being diligent to the cause. We have this thing about current efforts, and we believe that what we have is not a panacea, it's not rocket science. It's done based on some strategies, which I'm going to close out with. But we see there's an untapped talent piece. And what we're passionate about, and this question to you, we all know the answer to that. Will history be repeated? What's the answer? No, it won't. Why? Because whatever we can do in our space, in our time, we're going to do those things. Now, do I make money doing this? Will I get a contract doing this? No. But you got to be able to understand that you've got to pay the rent on your space that you occupy on the planet. And how you pay that rent is up to you. We're asking you to pay the rent this way. We're asking you to give something to this untapped talent and understand some of the concepts. You can change things. Untapped talent, and think about these kinds of things. We believe that the one way an education system could work, if you talk about organization. When we organized, we did it with strategic focus. When we organized people that had similar passions. When we organized with the end game in mind. Form does follow function. Where do we want to get to, and how do we get there? When we talked about relationships, we talked about those that could bring power. Oscar talked about power, likes power. Power where you can write a check and help some kids out. Or power you can let us use your office, or let us use your boards, or let us do in order to help the students. We talked about dedication. The teachers are more dedicated than any human being I know. They really are. But we've got to make sure that we've got peers that can also provide that dedication to bring heat to the issue that we're talking about. We know that you've got to have some outreach as it relates to making sure people are aware of the opportunities to serve. One of the challenges that we've had in our program we're proud about it, but Oscar said, and we had this strategic retreat that Garfield talked about, it's not enough. We can't have a program with 20 kids a year. It's not enough. Somebody's got to say no. We should have 200 kids a year or 150 kids a year. So that's what we're trying to do as far as the outreach is concerned, to get out earlier and often to make sure that we can make this thing happen. Mentoring. One part of the programs that he talked about was the mentoring with the local chapter of NOMA and the local chapter of AIA. What they do, and I wish you could be there, it's just amazing. They sit with these kids and they listen to them. And the kids say, well, I believe I can have this room and it can do this and it can do this. And however small the ideal is, the mentors from those two organizations, they absorb it and they give them back good water. They ring right back out great ideas and great encouragement. So it's a really good process. And then ultimately, you've got to be able to monitor that activity to make sure that you're on point. And Garfield, to his credit, is a great taskmaster of keeping the board, because he's past chair, keeping the board focused on objectives and deliverables. Because his military training, he shared with him, will help him be focused on, I'm marching this way and it's going to be this, we got to do this, this, this. That's a great tool to have. He's a great leader in that regard, because he keeps us focused on the path and accountable for deliverables. So all those things being said, we believe that, my transition? We believe that if you consider the option that we're talking about, these kinds of things, this is our particular scenario, that it would work for you. We train 1 night a week. We train from 4 to 6. Now our kids come to school at 7 o'clock. And by 4 o'clock, they're what? Tired and hungry. So we got to feed them, right? So we got to feed them, and they don't want, we tried it, they don't want pretzels, they don't want bronchitis speeders. They want pizza with sausage and bacon and all that kind of thing. So you got to feed them those kind of things. That's where they are. We make sure we take them to other environments. We take them to the big architects' offices and the small architects' offices so they can see actually how you go about being an architect and what it looks like in a work environment. Because they've never seen it. You don't see that on TV. And then we take them to a construction site because ultimately we want them to understand that that's what they want to be able to do. As a contractor, I'm like, yay, so they can see how it's built. Put a plug in for us. So all that being said, this is the model that we think makes sense. And it all goes back to the next one. This is one of our 3-year students. Amazing bright light. Just so he's passionate about what he does, wants to be creative, and after all the things that he's going to SCAD, everything is really working out well for him. So he's one that we will use to come back and to keep track of. We talked about that monitoring thing. We can always do better, but we can't find the bright lights and bring them back to spark others. And this piece here, you could say a sermon on the drop of water. And what we hope you do, because we want this room to be full, is that you think about the drop of water for a second. You think about what impact it has. You could be that drop of water. And what happens in a drop of water? The ripples. The ripple effect. And it makes an indelible imprint on the shores of whatever water body it finds. We're asking you to consider, wherever you're from, to go to that place and look around you and see what pond you can jump in. We're asking you to jump in a pond that trains kids to be architects. We're saying we're going to be with you and help you do that. But as Oscar talked about, we're saying now. We're yelling now. We're pleading now because we can't allow the next 30 years to be like the last. It just can't happen. We're losing souls and lives, and the world's going to change. We talked about this global economy. Can you imagine not servicing that now? Because in 10 years from now, I mean, you got kids from Beijing coming over here. Or they don't have to come because they're what? They're on computers. They don't have to be here. We just got to be good, right? So I'm going to pass it back to Mr. Garfield. But you see, we're excited about it. It's structural. All the things it takes to be successful, you have it. You have it. And we appreciate you being here listening to our part of this play. Thank you.
Actually, I don't need the mic either. So, thank you, Hebrew.
Yes, sir.
And you know why we love him? Because Hebrew embodies the passion that we have in the program. And here at the board of directors, one thing you see about this picture is the diversity of individuals, of professionals who are giving their time to this program. So this is something that we're very proud of. It's something that we feel that can be replicated in different parts of the country so we can start to make that impact. And how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, we envision kind of a 3-part type system where here in Atlanta, we might be the national office, if you will, that will continue to develop and beta test a curriculum and push that out to the field potentially, as well as the 501c3 sponsor. We will continue to work with our affiliates in that way. Local participants, we feel that is for a program like ours that we know works, you need to have 2 things. One, a champion in the high schools, a teacher and administrator, and a College of Architecture that the students will have access to. We feel that that's a very important model to have. So you need a high school and a college and champions. And then a local board, a working board, folks that are just as passionate as yourselves who want to make a difference. And then some of the other affiliates Again, we've enjoyed great support from NOMA and AIA, and many of you have those organizations in your cities, and as well as corporate sponsorships. We raise our own money just like any other nonprofit. So last year we raised 18,000. It takes about 20,000 to robustly run the program. So we've been doing pretty good in that sense. Some required documents, I won't spend a lot of time with that. Many of you who started companies know that you have to do bylaws and affiliates. We will work with a group that wants to do that. Tax ID number, very important. Professional contracts, again, one of the key ingredients of our program is that we have college professors working with our kids. And that's something that we made a commitment to pay for these professors to do that. And we feel that's something that's very, very important to have. Here's just a quick snapshot of our vision. Chicago, Detroit, LA, New York, all centers of creative inquiry that can use a model like this and continue to be that drop of water that Hebrew talked about, or to impact those statistical numbers that Oscar talked about. That's what we're about here in Atlanta. And then just to wrap up, we want to give some time for questions and answers. Here's our contact information here. I encourage you to go to our website. So if you have any questions, please. I think we have about 10 minutes left, or 15.